Hey everybody, welcome back to MLG World Final here in New Orleans. We just witnessed our very first match, Evil Geniuses going against Monkey Business, and it was Evil Geniuses all day. We already boasted about how Evil Geniuses seem to kind of control the tempo of the game from start to finish. Now we need to start looking to what Monkey Business need to do to take this to 3-game stretch. What do you guys think?
We were talking about how we never know what Evil Geniuses will show up. In New York, it was definitely not the TI winners. And going into this game, I sort of felt a bit scared that it would be Monkey Business just dominating them because of the lack of experience they've had. But I think New York just gave them that boost, or that rather kick in the ass that they needed to actually...
The wake-up call.
The wake-up call, exactly, to get practicing. And that showed in this game. They seemed coherent, they seemed to play together, they had the synergy both in the draft and the playstyle. And then, of course, Sumail, what a performance on his Magnus.
And that's just kind of been the book on EG for some time, that you give them any kind of an early lane advantage and they are just going to absolutely take you out back and shoot you. But I really think, and I thought coming into this series, Monkey Business is a team, they apply a lot of early game pressure, they do pretty well in their lanes. I just want to see them with a fairly stable, safe draft, pick themselves some solid lanes, give themselves a chance going into that mid game.
It's not going to be too easy. It's pretty obvious based on the draft that Evil Geniuses have been practicing and also been researching and watching. You know, we talk about how much Monkey Business have been able to do online, taking all these teams and participating and qualifying so many events. Well, that's just all the more research for Evil Geniuses to kind of take in and adjust their own play.
Yeah, it sort of seemed that, it sort of seemed as if Evil Geniuses knew what to expect from Monkey Business. Monkey Business got the usual strategy that they revolve around with the Beastmaster on the... Well, it wasn't on support this time around, but it's still a Beastmaster pickup. It was heroes that Evil Geniuses knew Monkey Business liked playing and everything. And then the Juggernaut pick, as we were talking about earlier, seemed a bit off.
Yeah.
It wasn't... First of all, it wasn't really necessary, and secondly, I don't feel like it added much to their lineup. And when they already had the Ancient Apparition, both the Healing Ward and the Witch Doctor heal was sort of nullified in a 5-on-5 aspect. So not the hero I would have expected them to pick. I would much rather prefer Alchemist being farming on the safe lane and just taking some dominant mid hero for a miracle.
At the same time, though, you got to look at Monkey Business and you got to say, look, this is a team that has a real talent. They have 2 of their players at their first major LAN event. If ever there was a time that you say, hey, warm-up game, boys, that's it.
Certainly could agree with that. And as we see, the Game 2 draft is well underway. Sumail, hyped as ever. Look at that guy, just on the edge of the seat, ready to play. I'm kidding.
We actually saw this when they won as well. They all seemed very, very calm, almost bored.
Remember when they won TI?
But that's what they do. I mean, that is their trademark. They never get too high, they never get too low, and I actually think it gives them a huge advantage at these lands.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can keep calm, that's great. But it's more like we saw Arteezy by the end of last game. Oh, I'm beyond God like Antamates. Come on, give me a challenge, guys. At least bring what Vega did in New York. So, Evil Genius starting out with a Wristband, no big surprise. It's what they need to do against a lineup like this. Monkey Business, obviously, it's probably their most favorite hero with the no-tail crit synergy.
The other big favorite, of course, was the Undying. In the previous match, Evil Genius did ban it out second, so it could be a repeat here. I don't know if they do let it go, if it's something that Monkey Business need to immediately pounce on, and how much of a value it is to go back for the Alchemist possibly once again. I feel like EG are going to be like, hey, we're going to leave the Alchemist out there. You want to go for it again?
They probably will. I wouldn't, like... One thing Monkey Business needs to realize is that they can't be scared of picking their own playstyle. That being said, I really, really hope that they'll put Miracle on the middle lane, potentially take a page out of the Secret playbook and maybe give him a Wind Ranger. It's one of the most dominant mid heroes right now. Interesting.
Yeah, I think to me that any time in this patch when you have a chance to pick up a Doom, you do it. This hero, when he hits level 9 without any stat items, level 4 Scorched Earth at level 9 is equivalent to having a Radiance and the Heart of Tarask active simultaneously. This hero is just incredibly strong.
That Scorched Earth is just out of control. How many times have I seen a Doom barely escape and just somehow manage to keep on thriving? Now, how do you deal with the Doom? Oh, EG are going to be opening up.
Same way you deal with an Alchemist. The Ancient Apparition, probably the go-to hero right now with all these different heal mechanisms and tanky heroes that we see. It's great against the tanks, Alchemist, Doombringer. It's also great against Witch Doctor, Shadow Priest, obviously the Juggernaut, Healing Ward, and so forth. So it's just a very, very great support hero with a very diverse skill set that I really like them picking up. Obviously, it doesn't have the same kind of instant disable that a lot of other support heroes do. But it's still, Cold Feet is still worthwhile if you have something to set it up with.
They did buff the range, which I guess is nice, up to like, I believe 1,000
And it did
or so.
win them $6.6 million as well.
That's right. That is right.
Can't argue with that.
We almost saw a bit of deja vu in that last match with those two big ice plays in the Roche pit there, but they open up, and the response is going to be the Lich here.
This is very much a signature hero for Monkey Business. So Fly is 6-0 on Lich with this current roster. We should mention, though, of course, Arteezy, probably the best Shadow Fiend player we've ever seen. He's by far the winningest player on the hero, over 50 wins, and just puts up unbelievable farming numbers. And this is another strength that I think this current EG roster has. They're going to rotate Arteezy and Sumail between the mid and safe lane positions, depending on who's on what hero.
I mean, that being said, I don't think Sumail's Shadow Fiend is too shabby either.
Oh, no,
with
no,
the
not at
whole
all.
Yule Scepter popularity and everything, so I wouldn't put it past them to let Sumail play it as well. One thing I do want to go back to is the fact that Evil Geniuses prioritized a ban on the Darkseer rather than the Doombringer. So this already gives the future enemies, future opponents, a little read into how PPD wants to draft. The fact that he values Darkseer higher than the Doombringer, knowing that Monkey Business have the first pick, it's really interesting. But it also probably stems from the fact that he knows that AA is a great counter to these tanky heroes.
Now, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Is I think that that's part of PPD's strategy coming into this event, was to say, okay, look, Doom and Alchemist have been two of the most influential heroes in this patch. There is a very obvious hard counter that we're good with.
You know who has also been a big factor in this patch that we didn't get to see in the last game and haven't seen yet? Night Stalker. Night Stalker, one of those map controls who, you know, I haven't seen Evil Geniuses run it too much. Monkey Business, not too much from them either. So it may be something we don't get to see a lot through this series, but expect to see it through this tournament.
It's more of a Virtus Pro hero than it is one of these teams, definitely. I like the Broodmother ban coming out now. Even though there's a Doom picked up by Monkey Business, the Broodmother ban is really good because Evil Geniuses doesn't have that Darkseer as a go-to counter. So just to make sure that they don't get overrun by these Spiderlings, because their two first picks are not very good against it either.
You mentioned Dakota the Night Stalker. Only one game from them on the Night Stalker this patch, 1-0 from Moon Meander. But I like the flexibility of the Doom in the safe lane as well as the off lane. But I think at this point, I would expect them to probably run it as an off lane here.
Yeah. I just could see, even though it's something Evil Geniuses have not ran recently, I could see Fear do work on a hero like that. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case or not. But as we move on, they also ban out that pesky Venomancer. And on the side of Monkey Business, ridding of the PL, who we all know has not found any good success as of recent. But they still value the ban on it there. And then also Clockwork being banned out.
That hero, that's going to be a big question in our second series. But that hero in particular, PL, was 3-18 in the Frankfurt qualifiers. Just absolutely abysmal.
Ember Spirit as well, gentlemen, ignored up to this point. I know that is a big value pickup for both of these teams.
I'd really love to see EG pick up the Ember right now and just put it on a safe lane farming role, maybe.
Ember, one of the most successful heroes in this patch.
They do have a Doombringer, but as we've been talking about earlier, like Doombringer is a counter for everything. Like there's nothing that Doom doesn't counter, right? So just because it's a
Wraith King is actually one of the few heroes that can handle
well,
Doom.
I'll be damned, they did pick up that one hero that isn't really countered by Doombringer. Okay.
Now
what about this though, Milk? One position or four?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Core or?
I mean, I would play it as a one position. The EG of old, when EG first became successful, meaning after I left, and once Arteezy and Sai first joined, they actually played this four-position Wraith King that then turned into a huge farm monster, and sometimes Sai would outscale. And they do have fear, right? So it could definitely be a setup with Cold Feet on the AA and everything.
That's what I was thinking, though. That you start off by saying one, and I was thinking much more four for this team, right? Because they're all about their scaling second support.
It's just in this particular case, I feel like it's a great counter to the Doombringer. You're gonna have your carry that'll, like, yeah, you can doom him, but what is really going to benefit you? Nothing, not at all. He's just going to reincarnate, get the slow on everyone, and be back to dealing damage.
Yeah, I can go with that. This yet another though signature hero though for Monkey Business. 9-1 on the Jakiro is crit.
Crit, man, he plays a sick Jakiro.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him, by the way, but he's also, I believe, in his first major land, and a number of people I've talked to have called him one of the more underrated players on the pro scene.
Yeah, he's one of those like refugees. He's been on like all of the teams I've casted. Just seems to always pop in. He fills, he subs here and there. He definitely has experience competing.
He was definitely after post TI, even in Seattle when all the teams were doing their what lineup are we gonna make and everything. Crit was the talk of the town. He was the only player not in Seattle, but yet everyone was talking about him. Well, him and Miracle, I guess. So it was definitely expected that he joined some kind of top team. That he chose Monkey Business over other offers wasn't too big of a surprise either, just because of no-tail, the whole Danish factor. Danes like to stick together.
No offlaner yet for EG.
Are we going to see that Bat Rider?
That's what I
Are we
was
going to
just
see
wondering.
the Universe Bat
Yep.
Rider? You don't see it a lot recent, in EG's recent play, but it's now 6.85. The question is, though, is an off-lane Bat Rider. We see more success with that mid-lane, like S4 style alliance Bat Rider in more of a core laning position. Can Bat Rider still survive, though, in the off-lane? The jungling aspect is not what it used to be. So can it still work?
I mean, as well as many other heroes, it definitely can. It's a patch that I liked, or a version I like to regard as an offlane version, just because of how many heroes can actually work there. Something I think is much more likely is a Sand King or, well,
Okay.
I love seeing this pickup. I think like a Wall Runner is great here. It's great for getting in on them as well. They won't be slowed down by Jakiro and Lich. It'll enable them to catch up to them.
But you mentioned earlier, though, this is another, like, it's almost a lineup-wide counter to the Doom. Because, okay, somebody gets doomed, Centaur presses R, everybody runs away.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the disengage is great too, obviously. And then, I mean, I feel like the initiate already favors them, even though they didn't pick up a Beastmaster, something that isn't too surprising either. It's still evil geniuses that can do the initiate. As soon as this Centaur blinks in, the Wraith King just runs in. He doesn't care about anything. And then Shadow Fiend gets all the space in the world. AA Ultimate comes in from the back. I feel like Monkey Business is already pressured on how and who to kill and how to even do these 5-on-5s.
Can't forget, going back to the Centaur Warrunner there, it's not crazy to get that Agnum Scepter, and all that additional damage reduction will certainly help with the Doom, with the Chain Frost, and as you already mentioned, to be able to quickly disperse away from that pressure is just such a valuable tool.
But let's talk about lanes, guys, because that was essentially, remember, what decided that last match. Let's talk about the laning configuration here, because I actually think Monkey Business could end up having an advantage in these lanes. Radiant side dual off lanes, 60% win rate in this patch.
And they have a Lich.
Yeah, exactly. That Doom, that Lich Doom off lane is
exactly.
just
So
stupid.
they'll be able to keep the off lane creep wave to their advantage down close to their tower. It'll be really hard to gank them, and they'll probably have level advantage against them as well. And if the Doombringer does go with the Lich on the offlane, there's no way they can ever kill him. So if the Lich just plays smart, he'll just stay in the back and they won't be able to get to him.
I mean, I really like this Monkey Business draft so far, just because I feel like they're going to have very, very strong lanes. And again, this is what I thought they needed to do to give themselves a chance. Just get really stable lanes and be able to play that mid-game pressure style that they're comfortable playing.
Razor. This
oh
is
boy.
Now we don't know
really
yet.
hate this hero
position Wraith King. Sophia will be walking the shoes of Sai.
I absolutely hate this Razor here, because to me, the counter to Razor is dual lanes. All of a sudden, and if this hero doesn't get a 1v1 laning matchup, I feel like the value goes down so much.
I don't know. I think he's pretty good against their entire lineup. If you look at it this way, just like his passive is really good against all the heroes of Monkey Business so far. You can't really focus him with Primal Raw unless you want to stand still yourself. Same with Doom, especially the Lich. Does nothing against this Razor, and if he builds it tanky, he might go for this early pipe. Yeah. It's a very tanky lineup from Evil Geniuses that they have no real issue initiating with, and they have 3 front runners now, creating a lot of space for the Shadow Fiend. And I do think it'll be Sumail playing the Shadow Fiend.
I agree. No, it almost without a doubt will be, just because Arteezy is. There were 2 heroes back in last year's meta that Arteezy could just farm with at rates that were so much higher than everybody else, and those were Razor and Death Prophet. I mean, he looked like he was almost playing just a hard farming carry when he was on those heroes. Everybody else looked like the standard mid semi carry. I think it'll definitely be an Arteezy Razor.
Just that there's that stigma, though, that it's a Razor, and nobody's ever satisfied when they see a Razor for whatever reason. But I agree, their lineup is
it's just
durable
a fairly
to
dull hero to look at. So this Queen of Pain pickup wasn't too surprising. It's definitely, when it's in the pool, it's the go-to hero. They needed a mid laner. Yeah. Miracle is...
I actually hope it's going to be safe laner.
Like a lot of other players, Miracle is amazing on it. You hope it's a Beastmaster mid?
I hope it's a Beastmaster mid. Okay. Yeah, I really do.
I think that would be a mistake. They have... I feel like Queen of Pain has a slight upper hand against the Shadow Fiend on the highest level. And I would hope to see how Miracle would fare against Sumail on that.
All right, fair enough.
I want to see that too.
This is going to be a great one. I do want to see that 1v1 matchup in lane.
I really hope Monkey Business just has that faith in him and belief that he can go up against Sumail, even though Sumail has like
Well, you have to. You know what? I'm actually. You've convinced me. You absolutely sold me on that side. I think you're riding this young kid in his first LAN. You need eventually to discover how he's going to play under pressure anyway. Let's do this.
And it's time. Let's go ahead and throw it over to our casters now. We got Toby 1 and Merlini. Gentlemen, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Dakota. Yes, we are returning for Monkeys versus EG. Game number 2, EG with the 1-game advantage and pulling out the El Classic. It is going to be the Centaur War Runner, but he's been significantly buffed.
Oh, that's a weird smoke.
Hey,
I was watching EG and they're just like, oh, let's smoke under the tier 1. Yeah, the Centaur is an old school counter to the Doom. You just, once he gets doomed, you just stampede away, and then you try and disengage and trade cooldown for cooldown. And generally, it's viewed as a positive thing, trading those two ultimates. So it's an unusual pickup for sure in this particular patch, but one that I think works pretty well versus the slows from Queen, Lich, and Jakiro. Even the Boar can be super annoying to deal with if you're any of EG's heroes.
I love that from Monkeys. It was in fact Moon that was just drawing a huge circle inside their own jungle, just saying, you know, guys, we have no control of this area whatsoever. EG have probably moved in here very aggressively. And this will be our first runes drop. So we'll go the way of Miracle, who's the Queen of Pain. And the man who is tagged up as the real Slim Shady, it is going to be Sumail. We'll be taking that SF.
The SF versus Quap matchup is a difficult one for Queen past 4. And a difficult one for SF prior to level 5.
Would you want to keep Lich in the mid lane a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Just to help that Miracle?
Ideally, no, but you might have to in this matchup. I've actually seen, I think, Fada's Beastmaster beat a Shadow Fiend in the mid lane, so I wouldn't have been opposed to them putting the Beastmaster there either.
Man.
I think it works okay both ways, but it looks like Fly is just going to make Sumail's life miserable.
This lane switch, though, has worked out quite nicely for EG. Yeah, it wasn't really the biggest control over a Miracle, but he went Blink to start with. He didn't go for the Shadow Strike to start with, so he was definitely expecting to have someone like the Razor in mid to get that Blink up to break the static link. But doesn't get that. You get Universe on the top lane as the Centaur up against the Doom, so the heavy tank versus the heavy tank. And then there's an aggro tri-lane here from EG. Fear going boots first on this Wraith King. He doesn't have himself any mangoes, just one Clarity up his sleeve. He's going to be a little careful with his mana consumption.
He also misses the Sentry Ward. Another D-Ward miss. And this kind of lets Fear do whatever he wants. The spawn is blocked, and Jakiro's kind of huddling next to his tower. No-Tail can't get any farm. He doesn't have access at level 1, and this is one of the strengths of Razor. You should almost always win your lane with this lightning guy in your lane.
But then again, you do have a Beastmaster. Once he gets his Boar up a little bit more, you're going to have a fairly large creep wave coming in. Just farm from range. I just do it the very passive kind of nature. Wait for the creep wave to come onto the tower. You've got observers and sentries down, so PPD and Fear shouldn't be able to find anything from this. It's actually the top lane where you could find a little bit more. But it's Universe who's trying to actually get Moon to attack into him to get that return damage to pop back. But this is a Doom with level 2 Scorched Earth. He's going to have such a great time on this top lane.
Double Edge way better suited for Int heroes or agility heroes, but versus
hello.
Like Doom. Oh, nice.
Blink forward. And Sumail dying underneath the tier 1 tower. Caught just the very end of that one as he did die back behind the tier 1.
It's really tough with that Lich in the lane to try and not die early. He did have a salve available to him, but
Can we turn the light off?
probably wanted to wait until Shadow Strike came off. Level 2 Shadow Strike picked up by Miracle. Should probably keep an eye on this mid lane a little bit more.
Yeah, just to see where it's going to go from now. So you get the first by the way of the Queen of Pain. The soul catch up from the SF, never a great thing. PBD is hoping for the Courier Snipe. He's pretty damn close to it. Problem is, he can't finish the job, but he knows it. He comes in range, in fact, of the tier 1 tower, tier 2 tower, which reveals him out. While on the bottom, because they do see the PPD is away. Now Fly as well as Crick can be a little bit more active in this bottom lane. Like, you do have that dual breath plus the liquid fire, and the dual breath is a real pain in the butt. It got buffed up recently. And with No-Tail in the neighborhood as well, you get the pause, you get the liquid fire, you get the frost blast. That's 3 big slows that could catch EG out of position.
And with 3 heroes already down in the bottom lane. For both sides, you're not going to see that much stacking at all. So that's kind of not that great for the SF, who's already having kind of a tough time, and no bottle yet available to him. So Queen of Pain kind of free to get the runes whenever she wants to, as well as just play as aggressively as she wants against the Shadow Fiend, because those Observer Wards have stayed up on the lane. We do see a TP scroll on Fear as well as on Razor. That is a super early pickup by Razor, but he is the strongest up to 3 right now, and hopefully they can get a return kill.
All right, we'll put the players back into darkness for the moment. This is the laning phase I was expecting from Monkeys. Like, a lot better start for them. The Doombring having himself a great time. The Queen of Pain getting first blood, even
I think
if CS is
Queen
bad.
might kill him one more time. It's looking really bad for Sumail.
Yeah,
Again.
he's not in the greatest position of all. In fact, actually, he ticks out anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah.
With a Shadow Strike
It's a
that's
fresh
on him,
Shadow Strike.
this is actually, yeah, he's dead.
Well, he needs one more right click, or else he can tango and then salve through one of the ticks. But that's just a completely lost lane for him. It might be better for him to just straight jungle, but at the same time, you don't want a Queen to be able to go down to your safe lane and just blink scream on 3 heroes.
Well, got it anyway. Fear gonna make his way in. Good stun on Miracle's gonna keep him there just long enough that Fear can get the revenge kill. So Queen of Pain doesn't get away scot-free for this one. The SF again. So we know what SF can do. Like, recovery farming for a Shadow Fiend is always great. Now, trouble on that bottom lane for Arteezy. Just so much slow. He's got 144 movement speed, and they'll just beat into him while he just cannot get back in range of the tier 1 tower.
That's a very smart early pickup by Fly. You rarely see this, a level 3 Frost Armor with a 1/1/1, and I think he attacked No-Tail and was not expecting that
Universe,
extra slow.
top lane, this move is coming out, and okay, he actually Mango pops to get the Hoofstorm up. And at that exact point, Moon just falls back. Miracle, yeah, he's in trouble again with PPD. A double damage rune, uses the Vortex to get the vision, and Miracle blinks himself down. One more attack, where's it gonna come? It's not there. Fly arrives, gives the Frost Armor up, and Miracle gets himself back away to safety.
Yeah, Sumail getting dominated in this mid lane. I don't think I've ever seen him die 3 times in 4.5 minutes. I've seen a lot of teams like focus him, but in a one-on-one matchup, well, there's Lich there. The Lich factor. That's one of the most aggravating things when you're a mid player.
Where you just keep losing creep after creep.
Yeah.
Now Universe and Moon, they've taken their battle from the top lane. The movement speed is 360 versus 380, and that's not including the fact that you have that Scorched Earth, because you got that movement speed aura of 12% on Moon at the moment.
So now they've ditched bottom lane completely. They need resources to help Sumail out, or just let him jungle, and then that leaves Arteezy vulnerable in that lane. So they probably just need to get Centaur to soak up experience down there, but he's not quite level 6. Once he's level 6, he should be okay and can just leech freely until Primal Roar is up.
I like this movement from Monkeys, where you get the Jakiro up to the top lane. Can never be underestimated. Just a couple of points up in Liquid Fire. You get to the 3 or the 4, you can actually take solo towers just as a Jakiro.
This lane rotation, though, is super important for EG. EG, I think, is one of the most quick. They're one of the teams that's just most quick to adapt to a situation in the game, and they just completely shifted all 3 of their lanes. Well, Wraith King TP to the mid lane, Razor shifted from bottom to top, and then Arteezy rotating to the jungle, and PPD also absorbing a lot of the experience in the mid lane. But this was a necessary audible for EG. They were just getting pummeled in probably 2 out of 3 lanes, with top being a wash. So you can't lose 2 of your lanes like that.
They still are losing a little bit out for this. The Queen of Pain's
it's better
going
than
in.
Miracle's getting out of control. You want to just
Very
kind
true.
of let her trade farm for farm, because when you have an advantage, you want to be able to press it. And trading evenly is never a good thing when you're ahead.
It's just the lesser of the evil. Like, you gotta make a choice. But I'm still looking at 2 cores from Monkey who are having themselves a terrific time. Both the Lich as well as that Jakiro up against the level 3 Ancient Apparition, who they're trying to get some extra levels to in the mid, but has to be really careful because Miracle starts with the Shadow Dagger, goes for the Scream. Potentially he can Sonic Wave this one down. Wraithing's going to kill the Beastmaster in the meantime. The PPD is dead. No reason to burn the Sonic Wave until now Sumail will arrive. Goes for the both Razors, taking out Fly, who dove a very, very long way underneath that tier 1 tower. The Beastmaster died in front of his own tier 1 tower in the bot lane. And Miracle's going to get pushed back out. There's not enough mana for a proper combo for him.
You know, that TP by Fear actually, I think, just saved the early game for EG, because that's really slowed down Queen of Pain's farm. And if you look at our net worth, it's 3,400 relative to 1,500 for an SF, but it could easily be above 4,000 if that TP didn't happen. And on top of that, it gave Fear a lot of experience. Maybe they wouldn't have had enough damage to kill No Tail on the bottom lane.
They're coming for top lane. Doom is up, and they'll just let it go, but Razor, there's that Centaur ulti kicking in already. They want to make sure Universe can get the early level 6, and this will allow RTZ just to run himself back to base.
Man, they were really quick about that. Just like on autocast. Doom, boom, Stampede.
It kind of feels like just the old way of running these. I don't really want to say like the Blink Initiators, like the Sand King, which you just run around the safe lane and then rotate him out to go for these rotation ganks all the time. Because like you just prioritize and say, okay, we need to have this level 6 for the Centaur before Doombringer is ready to be able to gank up. So if he comes in with the Doom, we need the escape mechanism, and that is what Stampede allows you.
I mean, they're really good at just limiting the snowballing, though. If you look at the gold lead, it's only 1,500 in 8 minutes, and Monkey Business had like a three-kill Queen of Pain in the mid lane, just completely dominating the SF, as well as their safe lane completely secure. And now that bottom pool is dewarded, so those supports can catch up in experience. But no Doom. This will be an unexpected movement.
Yeah, they're not really expecting Monkeys to group up like this. If the Creep Wave can push in a little bit harder, which Crit can make happen.
This is a dead
it's
tower,
just a dive underneath the tower. Yeah, no matter what happens, the Ancient Apparition will die. There's no TP available, and in fact, the TP for RTZ is also on cooldown. The Sonic Wave able to connect up to PPD. The Moon just runs off the cold feet, and now maybe with the damage coming out from this SF, PPD gets caught out in the tree lines again. The Dual Breath is over on Fear, and the Ice Path even catching him out, and that's going to be real trouble as SF to drop. Fear still hiding in the tree line. The tier 1 tower is dropped, and Crit's going to come back just to check it, and Fear, yep, is the realization. He'll drop. He was desperately trying to get himself to the money to pick up that Hand of Midas. But Monkey taking 4 heroes off EG. Samael came in as the SF, but had no real presence.
Well, that's kind of a fight you just have to all commit, or you kind of just don't commit at all. They could have sacrificed 2 heroes there, or your pretty much whole team has to go there to defend. But unfortunately, Centaur was the culprit that was not there. 1,500 gold, you can kind of understand that he doesn't want to go into a fight because it's a Doombringer tanking the tower. There's a Liquid Fire also on the tower, so your tower is not really the bastion of defense that you would hope for this early into the game. And they were just able to absorb all that and not even get close to a return kill. Yep. Maybe if Wraith King were level 6, maybe if Centaur had gotten there a little bit earlier, maybe if they had Stampede up, but none of those.
There's a lot of maybes in that.
There's a lot of maybes.
There's a lot of maybes in that.
Or if SF had any sort of items, but should be like a, Treads mech, the safe build.
So now you got to push the SF into the jungle to farm up. The mid lane's a little bit too risky because you're waiting for Miracle to initiate on you, and he's building into this early Orchid, so control factors will be arriving a little earlier too. And then you've got, your under-leveled Ancient Apparition. He needs to get up to level 6. Everyone else has level 6 apart from himself and Wraith King.
Yeah, it seems a lot better when Monkey can do better in lanes. Like both this game and last game, it's come down a lot to the early laning phase.
Well, how do you even lose the early laning phase? You run a Lich as well as a Doombringer as a dual lane. And initially, you look at that as the first 2 pickups, and you're like, well, okay, we've already won the laning phase. And then Monkey shift the Lich into the Queen of Pain's lane.
Well, that's kind of one of the big sacrifices that you have when you pick a Centaur Warrunner. He's just very weak at level 1. He's not as strong as he once used to be. Generally, you used to be able to get like level 1 return, and you would just trade hits versus supports, but he's not that strong anymore. He's not that popular, and even solo supports can zone him out fairly easily. So that's why they ran him to safe lane, because he wasn't going to get anything in the off lane. But at the same time, they really needed 1 or 2 heroes committed. Miracle.
Actually catching out of the SF, but that's not enough damage. Able to get back in time, Samael will survive. But you lose your tier 1 tower on the bottom as well as the mid. RTZ did deny up that bottom tower, but now up towards the top. Fear goes for the blast, but Fly's already going to be here too. Fear is dead. The Courier's going to fly in to deliver the Hand of Midas, so at least he can have that before he dies, but you got to bet with your gold.
It's smart of him to save his ulti, though. There were no heroes coming in, so he was just doing a smart move and saving that for a more important time.
Yeah.
260
but they're going to keep losing more. Like Crit's now, like he took out the tier 1 tower on bottom lane, TP's towards the top, and then you're pushing with a level 4 Liquid Fire 12 minutes in. This is where Monkeys, like we're taking out all these early towers, are going to find that level 3 Necro book by 20 minutes into this game, if not before.
Yeah, with a different support, like, a Dazzler or something that's okay at pushing, but not as good as Jakiro, EG wouldn't be in this much of a rut. But now their T2 is just going to fall without any sort of counterplay from EG, and this is one of the strengths of Jakiro that a lot of teams have overlooked, I think, and Monkey Business have really capitalized on in 6.85.
Well, most people kind of forget about it because it got nerfed a couple of patches ago.
It got nerfed just barely, though.
Yeah, but it removed enough of the damage that it wasn't this solo push in which Team Empire and VP used to use. Miracle, control, it's not going to be enough. Had to blink himself. Actually, he blinked himself up and then triggered off the regeneration rune.
And that's the reveal of the Centaur Blink Dagger, a kill that you must get when you're in this much of a hole.
And this advantage, you said it was being thrown, was going to start kicking up a little bit more.
I'm surprised they defended that top tower, though.
Yeah,
they're usually much smarter about those sort of movements. It's like, okay, even like the risk reward, it's like, okay, we might save this tower, which can kind of open up our jungle a little bit, which won't really give them that much more map control. Oh,
Caught AFK. This time around, does he want to level up the ultimate? He's back into base, but he'll tick out. 27 seconds on the sideline. And with the death of the Wraith King, this will be the tier 2 tower in the middle lane down. I'm wondering if Monkeys have enough confidence they can go up. Like, that Necro Book level 2 has just arrived. The Ice Blast will make life a little bit more difficult.
They can at least liquid fire it a couple of times.
It's either that or they just say, you know what, just go in for Roshan, take out the tier 2 tower on bottom lane maybe. Like, focus on that instead, because EG have been just pushing out the bottom lane itself. And in fact, Crid's coming in here. He's using Macro Pyre to force out the lane.
It's the fake smoke, or the fake push, rather. Although he's playing a little bit carefully now. If they really wanted to commit to that, they could have Crit go up and liquid fire the tower again, but he didn't want to die for this and then nothing.
Well, there's no point for it. Like, he's almost finished up its Yule
setup. It's mostly to not give away your smoke positioning. If they were actually pushing, he would have went up and liquid fired, but he wasn't. He was actually scared of the initiation from Centaur, which you wouldn't be if your 4 other heroes were behind you. He would just get like instantly roared, and everyone who comes in has to deal with the Queen of Pain and Ice Path and Chain. So it was an okay movement. Teams have been trying to make their smoke movements a little bit less obvious by smoking as 4 heroes, as you just see EG did, but even then, teams are still catching on.
And the Dire's Courier gets sniped out. Life is just not great at the moment if you're an EG fan. It only had the Observer wards on it, so that's not actually so well on the wrong Courier. That one actually had it had the San's recipe.
I think you're actually kind of happy that Miracle went Orchid. Generally, you can get solo kills with it, but versus a Centaur ultimate, you might be able to just run into Fog and then TP away to kind of limit the damage from Queen of Pain. If you have like a Scepter, I think she can just kill most of those heroes, because a hero like Razor's like super underfarmed. He doesn't even have Trez at this point. He does have the mech though, so that's one bright thing.
What do you think about
EG's future?
Something more like the Queen of Pain getting something like a Necro Book instead?
Necrobook's okay.
Like you're running your push strat and you're going up against a Wraith King, so
that's what the Beastmaster is already there for. I think if they didn't have the Beastmaster, I think it would be a fine build, but you kind of want to spread your item choice. I mean, if they
what used to make the double Necro Books more viable back in the past?
It was a lot easier to siege, I think, and then they really punished early pushes. I think with like the glyph refresh and whatnot. So it's kind of all in-y.
I'm just looking at this lineup from Monkeys, and it's like a very great siege lineup.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way.
If you have perfect execution and you're very confident, you would build a pipe, you would build a mech, you build 2 Necro Books, and then you push high ground, and then there's no way that they can fight. I think that's actually a very, very high success rate, but there's just too many room for mistakes nowadays. I think like maybe Centaur gets like 2 or 3 heroes in a stomp, or maybe AA ult clips somebody, or they walk up into an unexpected Requiem. There's like a lot of potential scenarios which the fight can fail if not perfectly executed. But once you get to that level, which Monkey Business, they're still in their stages of infancy, then you can kind of convert to the higher risk strategies with a super great reward. Like ideally you want to end the game in like 20 minutes here.
Okay, now the Orc is going to be used, but PPT should still die anyway. He was trying to chase down a Hawk.
He's not worth the stampede. That's sad.
But he really isn't, man. He really isn't. Just leave him back at base to die.
But he's their Roshan, scouter. With AA down, there's absolutely no fear of them taking Rosh.
They're actually around Roshan.
They can't. But no way.
Like Fear isn't in a position where he wants to fight either.
They wouldn't mind
us.
They're hoping that Monkey can't end the game early. But with the Jakiro, as well as Aegis and Necro 3 and Inner Beast maxed, by the way, 1/4/4 build on the Beastmaster, there's very little chance that they won't be able to at least do significant damage to that tier 3.
Yeah, they can just walk at it. It's kind of the crazy thing too, like you said, well, maybe you have to wait like a minute until those necro units are back up again.
Yeah,
but
you'd want a
you
pipe.
actually don't.
I think if Doom went a pipe...
This is a nice little pick off though. Crit, the Yule Scepter, well, at least be taking Universe out of the field of play, and now with the Ice Blast coming in, Crit to get hit by that, and they'll just double edge him down. So a good pick off, and then a straight TP out.
That's a really important kill. That wastes like half the duration of the Aegis, because they were looking for a push right there, but now they have to wait 30 seconds, they have to push out all the lanes, they have to wait for him to TP back, and one simple pick off.
They're looking for a pick off of their own. PPD, once again, I'm sorry, man. Like, at least he'll get rid of the Observer Ward using the Tango, and then around the corner, they're going to roar for him. And the Doombringer will find the kill.
I mean, still buying more time. EG, they just need time for the Midas to kick in, time for SF and Razor to come back.
What's that Monkeys is coming? Oh, they just TP the Jakira to the tier 1 tower and push. Like, your Necro books are back off cooldown. And in fact, actually, no, the Jakira is TPing to bottom lane.
You have to push the side lanes out. You're losing out on too much farm in lanes 1 and 3, or top and bottom, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, they missed a window. That was actually one of the best opportunities that I would foresee for them. It's like 13-3, you have a huge gold lead. These two guys are like super underfarmed, no BKBs, you have Aegis, you have all this early game, and then slowly but surely the game should get a little bit harder for them if EG continues to farm at this pace.
Yeah.
Which is not great, but it's decent enough to be a slight worry for Monkey.
I'm still seeing that it's a worry for them, but they're hitting the sweet timing. You know, if Vladimir is over on the Doombringer shortly, Notal's got himself 1,200 gold. So
you need the mech pipe. Mech pipe is crucial for pushing that high ground, and Lich is still, he just has his buckler. We don't see any signs of a pipe.
Oh, it's actually a Vlad's. The mech's coming over from the Lich.
The Vlad's is coming out on Doom, but it's still not going to be enough. They're gearing more towards like a, I think 30 to 40 minute push, unless they take a huge team fight in the next 10 minutes.
I don't know, with the BKBs coming in, like maybe if you do want to wait it out, but
BKB is not that great for sieging.
True.
Because it's mostly like a very long, sustained process where you chip at the tower and eventually the team is forced to go on you. Versus EG's lineup, like most of the time you're going to get hit by like a Blink Stomp into like a Wraith King Sun into AA ulti. You're not going to have time to pop your BKB, which is why a preventative measure like a pipe is generally much better.
Well, they're coming anyway, man. That's a heavy group up of Monkeys. The Frost Blast will help push out if Fly wants to use. He's going to hold on to it for now. You know,
see, you can see their position. They like want to push,
yeah,
but
they really do.
They really don't want to lose a fight. If they lose a fight right now, they pretty much throw away their whole entire early game. That's pretty much like, I would say like a 6,000.
I hate to tell you, man, the buy set is to go. Like, they have 4 heroes ready.
Yeah.
They've got their fresh BKBs. They've had so much momentum in this game. They have a 10,000.
This is what they wanted to do 3 minutes ago, though, as soon as they got into Aegis. And Crit getting one pick off, I think it was mentioned that it was his actually first major lane experience. Like, you know, these kind of things matter. They matter a lot. And they are only able to get, what, 25% damage on the tower before they're forced to back off. And they're really scared of the spam. Razor is also notoriously strong at high ground defense with his plasma field spam.
He's holding him out so long. So now we'll finally see Sumail TP himself back. Same with Fear. Ancient Apparition actually picked off the Lich in the mid. Universe charging forward to claim that one. So you've lost your Lich, you've lost your Frost Armor, you've lost your Frost Blast, and you've also lost your bouncing ulti.
Yeah, and look at the gold graph. It's finally starting to tip in favor of EG because of all this wasted time. Okay.
Sumail was farming bottom, Fear was farming Radiant jungle, and you had 4 or 5 heroes which were sort of farming the dire jungle and pushing top lane.
This is just an inexperience of the team, and you know, it's just, okay, everything has to come together just perfectly for early game C-strat to work like this. They almost had it work though, just 2 pick-offs from the supports, and you know, they still have a shot next Aegis at least taking Iraqs, but now they're getting into that territory where people aren't going to flop over from Sonic Wave. People are going to survive from the Dunebringer, and people may be able to survive from the Roar too once they get sufficient farm. And notice Razor and Shadow Fiend also just built completely tanky builds, both sitting on treads, 1,400, 1,500 HP, when just a few minutes ago they were around the 1,000 mark.
Well, Samel might be in trouble. That's a double damage rune over on Miracle. And with the Orchid Silence on the SF, there's nothing he can do. They actually commit the Lich ulti as well to ensure that kill. That's a 2-minute cooldown for both abilities.
That's just some of the risks that you incur when you want to delay the game. Some people are going to get picked off, but as long as the overall net worth is tipping in your favor, slowly but surely, or you delay the timing of Monkey Business's like death push, then it's okay. Ideally, it wouldn't be your Shadow Fiend, though.
It seems like Monkeys also delay themselves. Like when you use things like that Lich Ultimate and Sonic Wave, like
well, he wasn't using it all game, though. There wasn't no opportunity for him to use it.
True. True, but with this push down the top lane, so there's no Lich ulti, there's no Sonic Wave, taking out this tier 1 tower isn't the hardest thing in life. Even for someone like a Razor, Universe is still waiting for that perfect opportunity, and with the TP forward, who's going to go? Is Crit coming out, and he starts with the Yule Scepter over on the Razor, but with a follow-up Ice Path, well, he'll do a little bit of work, a little bit of time, but Fear too quick, just jumping himself forward with that Wraith Fire Blast. You do lose PPD, who is doing the dewarding in the meantime, and the Doom is currently over on Arteezy, trying to run away from him, and this is not possible for a Razor to do. Even with his 11-1 charges, he still end up dying on the top lane. While on bottom lane, while they're battling it up, Samel versus No-Tal, these Necro units are going to finish the job with the boar. So Samel will drop a 3-for-2 trade-off. Fear will walk himself out of here. But that tier 2 tower claimed, and Universe just wanting to mop up that extra cash. Fear helping out with it.
Seeing some extra items being picked up on each side. Roshan respawns still at least a minute away, and I don't know. I don't like the way this game is actually going for Monkey Business after that point in time. I think they could have at least taken a Rax if executed perfectly, and EG are just really good about giving, like, if you give them an inch, they'll take a foot.
Yeah.
And now they're almost having, I think, 2 BKBs very soon. Actually, Razor might be going SNY, but even Wraith King almost has a BKB.
They're actually transitioning Wraith King to be more of this core. Maybe to be a better target for the Doombringer to say, come and please do me.
Oh, you always want to get vision on the Doombringer. Or like, hey, roar me, guys. I'm going on your supports. And it's important for your support to be that farm.
Miracle getting hit by the Plasma Field. Just dropping a little bit lower. There's a Sentry Ward on PPD, which might be another reason why he backed up. But EG moving over, No-Tal's Hawk will be able to scat out that movement. And they do have Stampede available, but to do it, they'll have to go in way, I say too deep, where they don't have any
Miracle's about to kill Peter again.
He's right behind him. That Ice Blast is still on the Queen of Pain, however. And with Arteezy there, you're going to Orchid and Sonic Wave. Start the static link, blink away. It's a hit and run. It's a very sad game for an Ancient Apparition.
His deaths are fairly inconsequential, though, this early.
Yeah.
So it's not even that bad for him. He shouldn't be sitting in base. Like, at least if you're like pushing another lane while they're pushing and they have to come gank you, you can just push out the lane that they were originally pushing and they won't be able to take the ground. And that's almost as good as just having a Ice Blast connect during that fight.
Monkeys, are they coming again? You want to both mech as well as pipe up and running, but this Lich still hasn't completed up his mech. He's still 80 gold short.
They need a D-ward. There's still one ward up by Dire in that mid lane. And they do have the gem up on the Beastmaster.
EG's coming out. They're probably thinking that Monkeys is over at Roshan. So yeah, the Ice Blast fires out, but the BKB up very early from Doom. Doom's up on that Centaur, so there's no Stampede for this fight with the Lich ulti, Chain Frost bouncing around. EG, actually the Lich ulti gets lost inside the Ancients, but it'll come back up again. So much damage being done by this, but the first bit of kills, it comes out for the Doombringer. Jakiro, one last Macro Pyre. Fear running through it, almost burning out. As he outruns these Necro units. Still not a healthy man. That ranged Necro unit, there it is from Beastmaster. Find the kill, slowing down Fly. Back into the river. Sumail on the run out of here, but there will be one last level death to arrive from the Doombringer. As it's just trade-off central, splitting this fight into 3 different paths, but it's No-Tal, who's still got Fear isolated on this bottom lane. He's already burnt through that reincarnation, and EG will lose all the heroes. PPD is the only man that can slow this down with an Ice Blast, but even that he's going to miss.
Great BKB by Moon, and also just great positioning by them, anticipating the uphill smoke and kind of controlling the area before EG can make a move into that Roshan pit. And Razor traditionally seen as pretty good versus Doom, but when you're this far ahead, you just can't do anything.
They're buying back. Universe trying to stampede charge in, but they're a little bit too far away. So you get a buyback out from the Razor, and you're able to disengage without losing a single hero. The only thing you didn't claim, however, was Roshan.
Buybacks are probably better than Roshan at this point. Because you're not really afraid of EG being able to take it. They do have max Vampire, but just not enough damage right now. Although they do have sustain from Shadow Fiend, so Shadow Fiend can potentially solo it. Definitely if Wraith King is kind of in the vicinity to give the aura, but I think without Wraith King, he can almost still do it with this build that he has.
But the chance of you succeeding when you got Hawk to scout you out. And
sometimes you got to take the risk, Toby.
Well, in this case, EG do need to. They're 14,000 net worth.
After that team fight, I think you kind of just go for plays like that.
Yeah.
Before that team fight, it's too risky because you still have a decent chance of winning. But at this point, it's like, okay, well, we have to do something just
someone might want to move Courier. Middle lane. Free rest to be given if someone doesn't realize this. Okay, now they've realized it.
The chicken bait.
Yeah.
A risky play.
That's one way to do it.
They smoked. I don't know if it was under the ward or not, but
the pings are only coming out, and they actually see the observer ward, but the movement is a trap from EG. There should jump forward from Notal with the double stop. No, the Orchid gets off in time. Universe has no way out of this one. Miracle triggers his BKB. As Universe has to stampede the rest of EG out to safety. The Observe Ward is scouting out Samal, however. He can't TP. It's on cooldown for 2 more seconds. Notal, no Hawk available, no stun available, and with a rando Ice Path, maybe they would catch him out, but it's already too late. The TP is gone. That EG, they've lost their Razor, and this should mean bottom racks.
Yep, and no buyback from Razor, so they know he's in the grave for 30 seconds. Start sieging with nasty, nasty liquid fire.
And the racks will just burn it out. Universe would love to jump back in again, but
no follow-up.
Yeah, that's the real problem, isn't it?
And
like you look for the control, but where is your damage output coming from both Centaur as well as SF? SF still not sitting at max souls. They jump in, but the Yule Scepter catching out the Centaur. Universe just has no joy in this game, 4-star or not. He was awkward in his last attempt. He's Yule Scepter this attempt around. And Monkeys will just back out of here. They take out the range racks. They might want to finish that melee, however.
His cast point is just too long against these instant Yules and instant Orchid. And on top of that, they have like BKB and other stuff to try and disengage from that. So Centaur, the weaknesses are very evident in this game.
Yeah.
Although once he gets his Ags, it's pretty darn good, but I don't think that's even a viable possibility in this game.
You just look at that like a trade-off. Like you're in a Doom versus a Centaur. Who has had the bigger impact on the game?
Yeah. Well, it's easy to look at when you're owning this hard.
Yeah.
Right, but he also helped win the lane, and he's providing so much by his team. Even if he doesn't cast Doom, like let's say he didn't have Doom at all, he would still be very useful. He still has mass auras.
So they have detection. They need more detection here, however. Because they saw Miracle underneath that Sentry Ward in the mid lane. It's now timed out, so they don't have that detection anymore. And yeah, EG just back into their jungle again, realizing there is an Invis Queen of Pain moving around. I think that's actually the 3rd Invis rune I've seen Miracle grab this game.
Notail deciding to play it safe. They have mass auras, though. Yeah. Shiva's, even Frost Armor, I kind of consider an aura. Vlad's, pack leaders, Inner Beasts. It's a lot to deal with.
Where are they going? They're in the position to start Roshan, but they're being very, very cautious. Not want to give EG an inch here. But this is a very, very simple Roshan. The Ice Blast will be coming in, causing a couple of chilling problems, but EG aren't in position to really punish this. Like, Universe is on the top lane. He just wants to finish the tier 1 tower. Fortification will deny him that at the moment.
Liquid Fire is also really good for Roshan. I think that's an overlooked aspect of that spell. It's like, oh, it's only good for tower sieging, but you can also just break high ground super easily because Roshan is super safe because you don't take that much damage. And here we go.
Yep. Looking for that full lane of racks.
It's a really good time for them to push.
And they've got to Soul Cure us up. Like, that's already going to just rip me out. You got -5 armor over on this melee rack. And just leave Miracle, the Aegis carrier on the front lines. Like, normally Queen of Pain, not the greatest physical damager, but they at least get the initiation out. They don't care if they burn the Aegis the Immortal. Fear, the BKB, up at a nice time as the blink away from Miracle. Does he end up shattering here? He's going to drop pretty close, and yeah, the Aegis the Immortal will pop from here. And what did you really claim? You didn't get much more than that.
Did not expect the cold feet. Blink Centaur stun into Wraith King stun. It's pretty good.
And now that bottom racks, Universe, this time he'll get the hoof stop off. No double-edged follow-up, but they get the kill over on Grip and the Necro units. They're going to start tearing him apart. It's just too much. With the Lich ulti down, the Doom ulti as well. It's just too much. Wraith King will get interrupted, so he can't TP out. And the reincarnation triggers, but they call GG. Evil Geniuses, this time they will admit defeat up against Monkey Businesses. And Monkey, great lanes, top 3 net worth for their cause.
It's really hard to tell who had the most impact on Monkey Business. They had a little bit of everything. Lich for the early lane, Queen of Pain for the early lane, and AoE, Doom for securing top, as well as shutting down these weak heroes, Beastmaster for vision, THD for the push. I don't know. I really like Monkey Business lineup. I really like how they adapted after the first game. It's like, okay, we need to concentrate way more on the early game.
Yep. And it worked. Worked like an absolute charm. For now, we're going to jump ourselves back over to the analysts to get their thoughts.
Thank you so much, Toby. We're back here now, and gentlemen, the Monkeys mean business. They're able to tie the series up 1-1, and I agree with Merlini. It's kind of hard to pinpoint who was the breaking. I mean, Moon got the space with Doom, and Doom became out of control. Miracle did his business. Okay, Naz, what is it?
But that's the beauty of it. That's what I love about these guys, right? You meet these teams. You meet this team, you see them, right? Yeah. They're doing everything together. They're eating together. They're coming over to the venue together. They're a very, very tight-knit young group, and I think that's really important when you start talking about offsetting having new players. I'm really happy to see them get this first win under their belt, because I feel like for this team, it's a huge confidence boost.
All that being said, I still think it all comes back to Miracle just dominating the middle lane against Sumail. I think as good as Fly was on the Lich and how the strategy and everything came together, and Moonmeander, of course, on that Doom bring up against the Centaur Wall Runner, it still all just goes back to Miracle just putting on a clinic against Sumail on the middle lane, killing it 3 times. It's amazing play, really. It's that Queen of Pain that gets all that space, creates a huge threat around the map of EG. It's definitely Miracle's win. I'm so happy to see him going up in the middle lane and not even like going 50-50 against Sumail, which in itself is quite an accomplishment for any player, but completely devastating him. So he gave up CS, right? He gave up creep kills in order for him to pressure Sumail out of the lane and dominating him that way, and it worked out like a charm. Sumail was almost a non-factor in this game in comparison to what we normally see.
And I think that's, first of all, like, you should really be sticking your chest out right now, because I thought at the end of the draft, I wanted them to shy away a little bit from that 1v1 matchup, and you were the one that called it. Look, you got to put the young kid on the line and see what he can do. And that paid off big time for them. I think you're exactly right. Sumail is used to being the one doing the pressuring in lane, not the one being pressured. Clearly looked uncomfortable. And that Lich, look, we all know Doom's ridiculous. Okay, Doom is 65-40 now in this patch. All right, but that Lich pick really, I felt, put so much pressure on the early lanes.
Now, is Sumail capable of being in a position where he gets dominated that hard? We don't see it very often. Is he capable of being able to bounce back, or is he the kind of confident player who's like, you know what, maybe I'll grab the Queen of Pain this time?
I think Sumail is probably the best player at bouncing back. I'm super impressed by how much self-confidence he has and how he just has this ability to shrug it off and go into a game and say, listen, I am the kid. Yeah. I don't care who you are, Miracle. I'm just going to go in, put on the show I always do. Even if you kill me 3 times in a game, that's a fluke. For me, that's just a fluke. I know I'm the better player. He has that ability. He literally sat during TI, whenever we talked about some of the best mid players in the tournament and everything, he'd be like, well, they're no problem for me. They're no match. And I firmly believe that he firmly believes that. And it shows in his plays.
You have to.
So
to play at the level to play at the level that kid has played, to come in and dominate the scene the way he has, I think you have to have that mental attitude.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, and look no farther.
I mean, we already saw it in the first tournament he ever played in, or
Absolutely.
like second, but DAC, the first real big tournament he played in, he's just like, I expected to win. I am the best mid laner.
5 minutes after they win TI, 4 tweets from EG members saying that was great, what a team, blah, blah, blah. Sumail tweets out, that was easy. That's the kid right there.
We'll see if we're going to have
to... going into game 3 now, up against Monkey Business and Miracle, who must have built up a lot of confidence coming off that game. So he just proved to everyone, to Evil Geniuses, to his own team and all the viewers out there, that he can actually play up and beat Sumail on the middle lane. He can bring it when it really matters on LAN, and he can be a force to be reckoned with in these tournaments. So it's really anyone's game in this game 3. It comes down to the draft, is what I think.
And I mean, come on, what more could we ask for right now? I really do. I said it before the series. I really do believe, in terms of storyline, this is one of the best matchups that we could be seeing in the entire scene right now. You know, the TI winner against the young team with so much potential trying to prove itself. Only fitting we get to see a game 3.
Yep. And we may even see this matchup again in the future. Who knows, gentlemen? But first, we got to get through a Game 3. So with that, we're going to cut to a small commercial break. But when we return, it will be Game 3 of Evil Geniuses versus Monkey Business.